Hey guys, welcome to my next video for class. Today we're going to be discussing los verbos regulares, which are present tense conjugations of regular AR verbs. Some of the things I want you guys to be able to do today are my objectives. We will conjugate AR verbs, we will learn when to use these conjugated AR verbs, and we're going to review the verb tener, which means to show possession or to have. As we go through this PowerPoint, I want you guys to keep in mind these three questions. How do we change Spanish AR verbs into their proper conjugation forms? Why do we change these Spanish verbs? And finally, how can we use Spanish verbs in the different conjugations? Next, we're going to go over los pronombres personales. And you guys should all know these by now. If not, you got to pick it up because these words are so important in Spanish. It'd be like speaking English but not knowing how to say I or you or we or they. So you definitely need to know these. We'll go over them real quickly though. In the singular side, we have yo, which means I. We have tú, which is you. We have él, ella, and usted, which is he, she, or it. It could possibly be my little friend here, my kitty cat. We have nosotros, which is we. It could be you and me. It could be her and I. It could be you all and me. It could be any of those choices. So that is nosotros. We're going to skip vosotros for now. And we have ellos, ellas, and ustedes, which is those girls or those guys. Next thing that I want you guys to know is every verb has two parts. The first part is always the stem. The second part is always the ending. Now, ser did not follow this rule as much as tener did. These AR verbs are going to follow them every single time. So we have our stem, which is going to be the beginning of every verb. So if I show you these verbs, hablar, practicar, estudiar, trabajar, cocinar, mirar, escuchar, jugar, presentar, and comprar. If we were to just say the stems, which are just the beginning of every single verb without the AR, we would have hable, practi, estudi, traba, cocine, mir, escuch, jug, present, and comp. Notice how every time we drop that AR. Now, when we subtract this AR from the word, we're going to add another part to the word. So, to form the present tense, what we're going to have to add is the proper verb ending. So you guys see your little chart right here, right now. These are all of our endings. We have an O, we have an as, we have an a, we have an amos, and an an. It's very important to realize that these verb endings also match the subject pronouns, those pronombres that we were talking about just earlier. So in the first category, we have an O that always goes with yo. In the second category, we have tú, which would be ending with an as, which would be you. The next category, for él, ella, and usted, everything is going to end with an a. In our next category, we have in the nosotros category, amos, which is we, and then finally we have an, which is for ellos, ellas, and ustedes. Now, you might have noticed with all of the verbs before, especially tener, the first one, the yo form, ended with an o, the tú form ended with an s, the nosotros ended with an mos, and then the ustedes ended with an n. It's because almost all of these verbs follow this pattern. Por ejemplo, we have hablar. The first thing we're going to do is always drop the ending of the verb. So here you guys see the AR. It is without that word on there, without the AR. It's just going to be hable. So you guys see in our little T chart right here, habla a whole bunch of times with no ending on there, just the stem. What you're going to do is you're going to add your proper ending. So we would have yo hablo, I talk, tú hablas, you talk, él habla, he talks. Nosotros hablamos, we talk. And then ellos hablan, those guys talk. So it's very important to know that hablar has 5 different form endings, just like tener, just like ser, just like every other verb in the present tense. So go ahead, take a few seconds, write down these 5 forms, and I'll just wait for you to finish. Alright, moving on. Our next example is going to be estudiar. Once again, we've gotten rid of the AR. You guys see it's underlined and bolded and put in white, just so you know that that is the ending. Here's our T-chart. You have estudi and through all of them. We're going to add our verb endings. So we would have yo estudio, I study. Tú estudias, you study. Ella estudia, she studies. Nosotros estudiamos, we study. And then finally we have ellos estudian, they study, or those guys study. So go ahead and take a few seconds, write these down on your handout, and we will move on. Our next example is going to be nadar. When you drop that ending, like we always do, you would just end up with nad, N-A-D. So you see our endings, how it normally look. You would have nado, I swim. Nadas, you swim. Nada, it swims. Nadamos, we swim. And nadan, they swim. So once again, you always drop the AR off of your verb. You leave with just the stem, and you're going to add your verb endings. This is going to be used a lot through Spanish, so make sure you guys definitely know how to do this. So that brings us to our next question. When do we use the present tense? The present tense verbs in Spanish can have several English equivalents, so the same thing in English. Each simple expression in Spanish may convey 3 different ideas in English. Estudio español, I study Spanish, can mean I study Spanish, I do study Spanish, or I am studying Spanish. So once again, it could be a simple statement, it could be an emphasis, or it could be an action in progress. But we'll go back to that just so you guys have a few more seconds so you can see these. So once again, whenever you want to say I am studying, I do study, or I study, remember it's only going to be with the present tense. Yo estudio. Just like yo hablo could be I talk, I do talk, and I am talking. Alright, let's go ahead and move on to our next slide. Other verbs that end in AR, you guys are going to see these a lot. Llorar, to cry. Caminar, to walk. Saludar, to greet. Contestar, to answer. Mirar, to look at. Escuchar, to listen to. Visitar, to visit. Desear, to desire. Llamar, to call. And comprar, to buy. Now, these are not the only AR verbs. There are tons and tons of AR verbs. You never know when you're going to run into one. It's going to be very important that you guys learn how to conjugate these AR verbs so that way we're better able to speak Spanish. And that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed my next video.